Hi, everybody, and welcome to the call. It is March 23rd. We are all quarantining together, and our special guest today is Hillary Duggin. And let me tell you, this 29-year-old rock star blows my mind every time she opens her mouth. She started her business, everyone listen to this, she started her business 3 years ago. She got to region in 1 year. The next year, she became a national vice president. And then this year, she promoted to executive national vice president. And what you were able to do with your new national vice president in Canada, who is also a social media rock star, blows my mind. And a lot of us here, Hilly, are struggling with reaching out. Whatever it is that's keeping us from reaching out. It's not stopping you guys because you guys are on a sponsoring frenzy. Why is that?
Yeah, so I feel like honestly, it's all mindset. It is 100% mindset, and it also starts with you. So if you have a team and you're looking at your team and you're like, man, like you got why isn't everyone sponsoring, and why isn't this person still working and whatever. Honestly, like always just look at yourself first, because the pace of the leader is the pace of the pack. So I always think of it that way. And whenever I look at my team and I'm like, oh wow, our numbers are moving so slow, I'm like, okay, what am I doing? And usually it's that I'm not in the type of activity that I would even like my team to be in. And so I feel like even right now while we're quarantined, we're moving and grooving and on fire. So it's honestly a mindset. Like when this all first started happening, I was feeling a little bit like, okay, so what do we do? Because we're literally all stuck at home. And I build my business a lot through just cold market, honestly, like meeting new people out and about. At least at this point in my business, that's how I build it. Back when I was pushing for region, I feel like I really did get to a point where I was like, I don't really know who else to reach out to. And I'm sure every person on here has gotten to that point where you do kind of reach out to everyone and it's more about who can you meet and who do those people know, and then just really just diving in and getting out of your comfort zone. And so right now, obviously, none of us are leaving our houses. And so I just was kind of thinking, like we have a lot of girls that had their sights set on, region qual this month, and had their sights set on finishing area this month. And, it's really up to you to decide to have the mindset of I'm going to keep going and pushing through, as opposed to, oh, wow, this is hilarious. Like, I can't believe I thought I was going to, go region qual this month, and now this happens. I guess I'll have to wait. Like, that's a choice that you made in your head already. And if you just want to get out of that, then it's really just about creating your own momentum first in your mind. Honestly, momentum is created in your mind, and then getting out there and just getting into activity. So, obviously we have to be creative right now. That's obvious, but it's not impossible by any means. And my team's numbers is actually up more right now than we've ever had at this point in the month. So it really is just your mindset. I don't know, Angelina, do you want me to like jump into kind of like my story and everything, right? Like that? Okay, cool. Well, so like Angelina said, I started my business 3 years ago. And just a little bit about my background. I used to be an elementary school teacher. So I went to school for that, obviously, got my teaching credential. And I was actually introduced to Arbonne while I was in my teaching credential. And I mostly through this skincare, through like a facial party that my sister went to. And then she came back and told all of her sisters, all of us, like, oh my gosh, you guys, this skincare is amazing. And that's just the power of network marketing. There's 4 of us girls in my family. So if one of us finds a good skincare, we're all on it. So we all started using it. And my sister was like interested in the business and stuff. But I was like, oh no, like I'm getting my teaching credential. Like that's just not my path right now. Like, sounds cool, but like I don't think I could ever be good at that. And so I used the Calm line from Arbonne for probably 3 years before I ever even dabbled in the business or even got started. So for 3 years, I was loving it. And then one of my good friends, her name's Jenny, she had just started a business with Arbonne. This was now I was a full-time teacher. I was actually 7 months pregnant with my first baby, and was looking for what I was going to possibly do when the baby came, and trying to figure out, okay, after maternity leave, like, am I going to have to go back to work? My husband and I were dreaming about, like, wouldn't that be so cool if I could stay home and, be home with the baby? But financially, like, that was just not an option. We both had full-time jobs and we were still just like both barely making it, it felt like. We got married really young. We got married at 20. We were high school sweethearts, met at 14 and started dating, and then literally like just never broke up, got married 5 years later. So we got married really young, and we had always just like hustled, like worked 5 jobs, like school full-time, and we're always paycheck to paycheck, just making ends meet. And then when we both got full-time jobs, it was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, we both had benefits and jobs, and, it was super great. We both had really good jobs, but we still felt like, how are we, like, we don't even have any extra money each month. So like, we're like, how do our friends all go to brunch every weekend? Like, I don't even understand how to afford that. Like, we are paying our student loans, and we both have car payments, and we have credit card debt, and like, how do you get ahead? It just seemed impossible. And so the thought of, being a stay-at-home mom, there was a time where I thought I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then as the months were going by and it was getting closer to when the baby was coming, we were like, no, we didn't have any extra money. And that was with me working full time. So we were like, yeah, that's just like not an option. But I was devastated at the thought that I would have the baby, have a couple of weeks at home, and then go back and then have them in full-time daycare. So I was trying to look for something, and in my head thought like, there has to be something I could do. But every option I explored was just like, nothing was feasible or looked like it would bring in enough money for the amount of time I would be spending. And so, so I just decided that's what I have to do. And then my friend Jenny started her Arbonne business, and she asked me to host a facial party. And she asked me specifically because she was like, I remember you use Arbonne, and you already, love the skincare. And I was like, oh yeah, totally. She offered me free product if I host it. I was like, heck yeah, girl. Like, I love Arbonne. So I had some friends over, mostly just my sisters, because there's 4 of us. And that night, I was introduced to her upline mentor, which is ERVP Emily Goddard. And she was there in town in San Diego. She's from San Luis Obispo, and she had driven down to San Diego to launch Jenny. I live in San Diego, and that was like the night that I met her. So she was in town, just basically like looked at her and thought like, okay, this girl is a mom. Like, she has 2 kids, like a new baby, is, like, she used to work full time and now she does Arbonne full time. She's pushing to earn her Mercedes. And like, there was just something in me that felt like, wow, like, if she can do this, maybe I can too, because she's just a normal mom like me. And like, well, I was almost a mom, but there was something that night that just caught my attention about Emily. And she was so sweet and so cool. And I was like, wait, and it was so funny. She literally said, she's like, you should totally do this. And in 1 second, I was like, oh no. And then the next second I was like, actually, yeah, I should. And it was just this weird impulsive like switch. And I jumped in. I signed up to be a consultant that night. I ordered my skincare and my nutrition. We had no extra money, but I was like, sure, $500. I don't even care. Like, let's go. Kyle was asleep in the other room. I like walk in at the end of the night. I'm like, hey babe, like, I signed up to do Arbonne, and like, I'm going to stay home with the baby, and it's like, it's all going to work. And he was literally like, okay, sounds good, babe. And I'm like, no, I promise. Like, it's cool. It's really awesome. I'll tell you in the morning. Anyways, we woke up, the next day was Friday, and then I had my launch party on Saturday. So I just like jumped right into it. Emily was still going to be in town. So I was like, let's do this while you're here. And that was in February of 2017. I had my baby a couple months later. At that point, I was a district manager and was kind of like, okay, how the heck am I going to do this now that the baby's here? Like, I don't even know how to be a mom. And it felt really just scary. And like, I was just like, hey, am I allowed to like be sitting here on my phone? Like, I want to be staring at my baby. Like, how do I do this? But just from early on, I was like, I need to make sacrifices now in order to have what I want in the future. And that just stayed in my head. Like, if I don't do this now, I'm going to have to be not with the baby all the time and have to go back to work full time. So I have to do this now. And so I literally worked my butt off for that first, probably like, well, the first 5 months until I got to area. But then after that was when I went region and I became an RVP in a year. So my son was almost a year at that point. And it was just crazy, the timing of everything. I was actually just telling my son the other day, he's 3 now. Well, he's turning 3 in a couple months, but he's 3 now. And I was telling him, I like to just like tell him stories. And I was holding him and I was just like, hey, Pax, like, did you know that like when you were first born, mommy had just started Arbonne? Because he loves Arbonne. He talks about Arbonne all the time. Like, he's just like, he'll see the logo and he's like, that's Arbonne. And he even sometimes sees the Mercedes logo and says, oh, Arbonne. But it's, you know, it's funny. So I was just telling him, like, did you know that mommy, like, I had just started Arbonne and I worked super hard, and, you know, I'd be holding you and I'd be working and I'd take you on walks and I'd take you to all my parties. And he was just like, oh, that's cool. But I was just like, it's so crazy thinking back to that year. Like, there was just no excuses in my head. Like, I just brought him with me. Like, if I hadn't pumped enough milk that day to be able to leave him at home with my husband, I would just take him with me. And like, there were times where in the first year, I had to have someone come help me for a couple hours, a couple times a week, so that I could just get some focused work time. And even that felt backwards, because I was like, I'm doing this so that I can have more time with my baby. But right now I'm giving up time with my baby. And there's times in this business where you have to make sacrifices in order to have the results that you want, like I said. So I pushed, you know, we promoted to region in a year. And then right after that, I had just probably like 4 or 5 months of being like super comfy at region. I was like, I have the Mercedes, like I have a team. And, you know, I'm making as much money as I was as a full-time teacher. So I feel good about that. But then, you know, this business is so much about other people, and you'll realize that even after the point of about area manager, I would say, it becomes less about yourself and more about other people. And it just has to, because no one like needs a Mercedes. No one needs an average of $22,000 a month, unless you like, you know, already have like a house or, you know, something that like, that's like the lifestyle that you have absolutely need to have. But like, I didn't need $22,000 a month. Like, I don't need $30,000 a month, but that's literally what we've been bringing in lately, you guys. Like, it's insane. And sometimes I'm like, is this real life? Like, I can't even believe that that is possible with Arbonne, because I just started 3 years ago. And honestly, I feel like I'm just getting started. So it's the possibilities that we have with Arbonne and with this vehicle are endless, but it's not about ourselves. And the quicker that we can realize that, the better off we're going to be. Because after area manager, I really didn't need any more. Like, I was making, you know, about full-time money. Like I was home with my baby. And then it was like, okay, but how many other moms out there also want to be home with their babies? And why is my husband working at a job that he hates and having to get up at 5 a.m. every day and take the bus all the way downtown, 40 minutes, to work at a job from 6 a.m. to like 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes like 12-hour days, take the bus home because the parking downtown was like $400 a month or something. So he would just take the bus and he'd get home and it would be like almost bedtime for Pax. And so it was like, why does he have to do that? Like, when I'm at home? And it became so much more about how can this actually impact other people and not just myself. And so pushing for region and pushing for nation, it was all about who else can I help? And I need to get out of the way. I need to stop being the lid on my team. If you're a district manager and you really want to get to area manager, just know that you're being the lid on your team and your future team by staying at district. Because once you go area, you'll start to attract people into your team. You'll have other people going district. You'll have other people that see area as a possibility now because you did it first. And if you're sitting at area manager and you're like, oh, I really want to go region and like it's just not happening, like, know that it starts with you. And it absolutely starts with you just busting the lid off your team by getting into personal activity, reaching out to as many people as you can, just getting in front of people. And once you go, your team will follow, and you'll attract the people that you need in order to get you to that level. So I always tell my team, like, jump and then the net will appear. So jump first. You can't like look down and see, where you're going to land and how you're going to land and how you're going to be supported, or, who's going to be joining your team and how it's all going to happen. If you're too caught up in the how, then it's just not going to happen. But if you just have a strong enough why and you just jump, then the net will appear and you'll grow your wings on the way down. And it all starts with you. So that's a huge thing that I share with my team. And can you imagine if every single person on your team, that you sponsored all had that same mindset of, I'm just going to jump and the net will appear. But that's going to start with you. And if you have new consultants that are coming in and they're like, but like, I just don't really know, exactly what I'm doing yet. And like, yeah, I want to wait until I know everything about the products first. And I want to wait till I'm like really good at, this and that before I start really sharing the business. Have you guys had that happen on your team where you have new people and they're like wanting to have everything sorted out perfectly before they really jump in? And you're like, no, like we learn while we earn, like just go. And the people that you're saying that same thing to, you need to say that to yourself too, because even though now you know how to do this business a little bit more, you still need to jump. If you don't know how to promote to RVP because you've never done it before, you have to just jump and go for it, and the net will appear. And if you do that, that'll duplicate into your organization, and the new people that you're bringing on will see this culture of just going for it and not overthinking it and just being excited and passion on fire and just going. And I really feel like that was like a switch that was happening on my team the time that we went region and nation. Was just, I just kind of like got up off my butt and just decided to go and lead and like just run to the next level or where I was going, and people follow that. And if you have people on your team, you're like, yeah, but like I am working and I am going, but my team's not following, then they're not your team. Like the team that got you to district is not going to be the same team that gets you to area. The team that got you to area is not going to be the team that gets you to region. For me, like I look at the picture of me at my Ben's Bash, and like pretty much there's like 2 or 3 girls that are in that picture that are still on my team to this day. And I remember I used to get really sad when people would say that, when they're like, oh yeah, like, the people that take you to region aren't going to be the ones to get you to nation. And I'd be like, but I want them to be. Like, I want them in my life. Like, I want them on my team. I don't want to find a new team. Like, I love them, but it's not, as it's happening, you start to realize like, okay, it is so much more I guess just like fun to work this business with people that actually want it, and the people that you're like having to drag along and like you're having to just like constantly reach down and pick them back up and pull them up with you. It can get exhausting and it can like take people out of the game. So just decide to go, and the people that aren't running with you, like just know that you're going to love them where they're at, and you still love them, and you're still, friends with them, and you still just like think the world of them, and you want what's best for them, but you can't force anyone to do anything. So you just have to go, and then the people that are supposed to join you will, if you're constantly in activity, and then the team that you're supposed to have will eventually form. And like for me, I remember when I was sitting at area and just feeling like that felt so hard to get to area. I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I ever going to find people that want this as bad as I do? Because that was hard, and like that took a lot of grit and a lot of perseverance and a lot of like sacrifice just to even get to area and grow my network big enough to have a team that was kind of working while I got to area. And that was a limiting belief for me of like, how am I ever going to get other people to do this? And almost thinking like, if I could just sponsor myself and sponsor someone like me that wants this, then it would be better. But you don't want to sponsor yourself. You want to sponsor people that have the same passion, but that are just have different skills, different passions. And like, it makes it so much better. And the way, like the things that you lack, your team will fill in. And like Angelina was saying, my first national vice president that I just promoted last month, she is an influencer on social media. So she has a large following on Instagram, and we actually met through Instagram. And social media, I love social media, but I'm not like an expert by any means. And so like where I lacked, she kind of filled in, and has been able to teach my whole entire team more about social media. So you don't have to know it or be it perfectly. You just have to sponsor it. And then you have to believe in yourself enough that you can and that you're worthy of sponsoring it. So if you want to attract rock stars on your team, first you have to be that rock star, and you have to be going and leading your team from the front, and just passion on fire, and just working on your belief in yourself and your confidence, so that when you do meet the people that are rock stars and they would be really incredible at this, or when you're reaching out to those types of people that are like, wow, that person is awesome and they'd be so good at Arbonne, like you want to first be the best consultant on your team to attract that, but you also want to have the confidence that you can bring in that person and lead them well, and that you can be like, because I remember when I first sponsored Carly, my NVP, I was like, oh my gosh, like this girl is amazing. But like, I was at a place in my business where I was like, I'm going to be a national vice president by GTC this year. So that was kind of what attracted her. I don't think she would have signed up for Arbonne if I wasn't going for Nation and like pushing for Nation in that moment and in that like momentum at the time, because she was someone that had her, once she started Arbonne, she had her sights set on Nation right away, and she went Nation in less than a year and a half. So it's, I don't think that type of person would have like looked at me or my team or Arbonne as a business and really wanted to jump in unless I was actually in that momentum and activity, and she felt like there was something that she wanted to be a part of, and that she could really flourish in. So just like be the best consultant on your team, jump before you're ready, and that'll just start to duplicate that on your team. But honestly, you guys, like I feel like my journey to ENVP has just looked like short seasons of like crazy activity and short seasons of pushing and laying it all out there, sacrificing, basically making Arbonne my number one priority for that short season. And that's hard to do, especially with babies. I now have two boys. So I have a 3-year-old and then a 5-month-old. And it's crazy, you guys. I've been doing Arbonne for 3 years and I have a 3-year-old. Like, do the math. Like, I started my business and he has been there the whole time. So no excuses, of pregnancy or of having a newborn or just, working full time. Because I used to work full time when I first started my business. Like, I've had all the different kind of obstacles, I guess. And then I also was pregnant again when I was pushing for Nation, and actually was pregnant before that. And then we ended up miscarrying, and like, I've gone through so many ups and downs in my business, but in those 3 years have somehow managed to just like climb my way to the top, and also like help another person climb up there too. And it's just because I had this decision and this belief that like, if it's possible for me. And even when I didn't feel worthy or like that it was possible for me, that's when you go to work on your personal growth, and you build your belief in yourself and in the company and in network marketing and in Arbonne and in the products. Like, if you have a crack in your belief about any one of those things, go to work on that, or talk to Angelina or your upline, because you don't want to just like sit where you are and feel stuck. And really the reason is just your lack of belief, because that we can fix that. Like, we can help you with that. We can throw success stories at you, and we can, throw facts and information. But like, if you're just sitting there and you're feeling stuck, usually it's because you don't have a big enough why, or you don't have enough belief in one of the areas, like network marketing or Arbonne as a company, or the products, or yourself. And it's just all about mindset. Like I said in the beginning, it's all about mindset. It's all about personal growth. You won't go to a promotion that you haven't grown to first. Like, it's really about growing and becoming, a better leader. But I will say, you don't have to become a perfect leader in order to get there, because I'm still learning every day. And, I didn't just like become the perfect version of myself and the most incredible leader, and that's what got me to Nation. I just kept working on it, and I'm still working on it. And, you don't have to like be a totally different, perfect person to get to the next level. You just have to keep working on it and keep your eyes set on where you're going, and no excuses. Like, no letting nothing get in the way. And like I said, there was so many times of seasons of sacrifice and seasons where like basically my entire focus was on Arbonne. And it was, you have to do that. You really do. Like I firmly believe that if you want to level up, especially to like RVP or NVP, there's just going to be times where you have to put everything else aside. Like not saying that you have to like quit your job or you have to like, not see your husband for a couple months, but it's like everything in your life needs to have its place. And Arbonne really does need to, like, in your mind or in some capacity, be at number one. Because if you're, like trying to be the perfect mom and like making sure that you have everything perfect and you're like wanting your house to be perfectly clean and you're wanting to be the perfect wife, or, you're exploring all these other passions in different areas of your life and you want to like be the perfect fitness expert and, eat perfectly, like all those things kind of like help you, but you have to kind of just choose one thing. And if you want to level up, it really just has to be like, okay, I'm going to tell my husband, like, okay, for these next 3 months, like I'm not doing dishes, unless I like actually really have a little bit of time, but like, can you pick up the slack with the dishes? Like any time where you're not working, can I like schedule that as office hours so that I can just like carve it out and you have the baby, and like just being intentional about just like where you're carving out your time and putting it in, and just no excuses. And hard times are going to come up, especially when you decide like, okay, I'm doing this, then it's just how it works. Like all the hard things happen. But that's not a sign that you shouldn't do it or that it's not the right time. That's just a sign that you need to like really dig in, and that's going to be your obstacle. That's going to, you're going to be able to overcome to then be able to teach your team how to overcome it. And even with this quarantine happening and this virus that's happening, like this is not a reason why you shouldn't continue doing what you said you were going to do and continue pushing for whatever goal it is that you originally set out for this month. It's not an obstacle. It's just an opportunity for you to work through this minor little bump in the road, so that you can then look back and tell your team how to do it as well. So I could just like keep talking all day, I feel like, but is there like specific questions, Angelina, that you want me to answer?
Yeah, so for you guys that weren't able to make it to our area manager retreat, this is the training that Hillary gave us. Through her stories, her topic was looking for an ace. And Hillary, during that training, you said, in the beginning of your training, you said when you reach out to people or when you talk to people, you flat out just say, I'm going to the top. Are you coming with me? And if you can't say that to someone, if you can't look at them in the eyes and say that with confidence, then the belief's not there. Like Hillary was talking about, then that's where the work needs to come in. Because if you're stopping yourself from saying that line, that's the red flag. What's that like when you look at someone and you just say, I'm going to the top. Are you coming with me? And you're just a district manager or you just started a business.
Totally. I remember I literally used to say that. I would sit down at the table, at a coffee date, or I'd be on a Zoom meeting and I'd have the Is Arbonne for You document up, or, showing it to them. And I would show them the compensation plan, while I'm sharing the business. And I would just say, okay, so, this is the first level of management, district manager. At that level, you make between about about $250 and $1,000 a month. And then I'd be like, and then this next level is area manager. At that level, you make between $1,000 and $4,000 a month. That's the level that I'm going to be at next month. And I would just like say it. And then I'd be like, and, I'm going to be able to leave my teaching job, which I'm so grateful for, because I love teaching so much, but my priority now is just being home with my baby. And so I'm just so thankful that, I'm already able to get to that level next month. And like, I think I was in qual for area maybe, but who knows? I would never like lie, but I would just like put it out there of like, this is where I'm headed. And then I would say, this next level is regional vice president. At that level, you make between about $4,000 and $15,000 a month. And you also get to enroll in the Mercedes cash bonus program, where you get to have a cash bonus in your paycheck every month for a white Mercedes of choice. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm earning my Mercedes by the end of March because GTC was in April. So I'm like, I'm promoted to region before GTC. So I'm like, I'm getting my Mercedes by the end of March, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, then this level right here, national vice president, that's the very top of the company. I know people that are at that level. It's possible. And honestly, I'm going to the top of this company and I'm just looking for people to take with me. And or I'd say like, you know, I'm going to the top of this company and this month I'm looking to find people that want to get straight to this first level and be making an extra $500 a month this month right away. And I would just say it like that. And people would always be like, wow, like that's so amazing for you. And I'm like, no, like not even just for me, like you could do this. That's why I wanted to, you know, meet with you. And I would just continue to, you know, paint vision. And when I'm sharing this business, I always try to ask a ton of questions when I'm first sitting down with someone, figure out what makes them tick, figure out what their passions are, figure out what they truly would want out of life. And then kind of like gearing your entire overview of Arbonne towards that, you know, like if you don't know them, you don't know exactly what they would want to hear. But if you can just ask a bunch of questions in the beginning, then you can really focus. Like if they talked about travel a ton when you're asking questions, like you can be tailoring your entire overview towards painting the vision for them that this could enable them to travel. And that's the biggest thing I think with sharing this business and being like so clear on where you're going is also just painting vision of where you're going, but then also helping to connect the dots that like where they want to go is Arbonne can take them there too. And but yeah, just like speaking boldly with confidence and just declaring it is huge. And it does attract the people that you are looking for if you actually just start showing up as that person and start
Let's
showing up
talk about
boldly.
that. Like, what are you doing right now in this climate to work in the cold market? And when you are reaching out to someone cold, what's it sounding like?
Yeah. Good question. So, I mean, I guess currently right this second, I'm not meeting people out and about a ton because of the quarantine, but I am still meeting people on social media. So I love to meet new people on Instagram. So I'll just kind of like follow different hashtags that are interesting to me, like hashtag boy mom or like hashtag postpartum health, like different hashtags like that. You can actually follow them. So then they pop up on your feed. And then you can then, if there's someone that posts something, and it looks like, oh wow, like this person looks cool, I'll go to their page, look through, you know, maybe start interacting with them, engaging with them, building a relationship. And then I like to reach out with a voice text. So I'll just on Instagram through, or, you know, DM, they have a voice text feature and you can just say, I usually just say something like, hey, oh my gosh, Kay, I know this is so random, but I was just looking at your page and you and your family are so adorable. And honestly, like I'll usually just like say something like, I'm like not in my groove. Once I'm like doing it, it just flows. But so I'll just say like, I don't know if you saw, but I actually have a business with Arbonne, and it's a vegan health and wellness company. And I totally get that network marketing is not a fit for everybody. But when I find somebody that I just feel like would be so amazing at what I do, I can't help but reach out. And I'll just say like, you know, totally cool either way. But if I sent you some info, would you take a look? Or I'll say like, you know, I would absolutely love to just hop on a quick call with you and just share a little bit more, or even send you a short video. You know, let me know if you'd be open to that. And then just hearing your voice and just the no pressure vibes of like, yeah, like they don't have to say yes. I get so many more responses to that, whether it's yes or no. And you guys, a no is not like an obstacle, and like a no response is not an obstacle. That's just part of what we do. It's part of our business. And so you just have to keep going. And so the more no's you get, the more it's just really easy to like weed through your list of people. And it's just, for me, I like to see it as like you're literally just sorting people into different categories. You reaching out, and then you're either sorting them into the yes pile, sorting them into the like, okay, I'll reach out in a month, sorting them into the like, hey, they said no, absolutely not, but I have a feeling about this one, so I'm going to keep dripping on her. Like it's just about kind of sorting people. There's no, you know, we can't get caught up in the no's or feel like that's like, oh, poor me, I'm getting so many no's, you know. But I feel like that's cold market with Instagram. And then in person, I like to meet people everywhere I go. Literally, I meet at least one person pretty much every time I leave my house. And that was a discipline that I had to just do and get better at and make a habit. I used to be terrified of that, and I'd be like, what am I gonna say? Like, what, I'm just gonna start talking to this person and then like tell them I do Arbonne? Like I had no idea, but it's like a muscle that you have to work out, and you have to just keep practicing it, and it gets more comfortable and easier as you go. And sometimes you're gonna do it and be like, oh my gosh, that was so awkward. And okay, now I learned I'm not gonna say that. And you have to just be okay with like falling on your face and failing, because like now a lot of my team builds so much through cold market, but that's because I like did it first and like cracked the code, and then I share it with them, you know? So be that person on your team that's just trying new things so that you can teach your team. But I always just find something to connect with them on. So I'll just be like, oh my gosh, girl, your hair is so pretty. What do you use to curl it with, or whatever? Like I'll find a genuine compliment, something that even if I wasn't in Arbonne, I would want to say to them anyways, and just ask them, you know, a question, or like compliment them on something, find something to connect to them on. And then from there, I just like to talk like a normal person, engage a conversation, ask questions. Don't like pry. Sometimes you'll see people are like, oh, why is this person talking to me? Like, don't keep pursuing that person. We don't want to be seen as those like weird network marketing people that are like pushy and like, you know, like, oh, like target people when we're out and about. It's like, no, it's just building relationships. And sometimes I never even end up like getting their phone number or their Instagram or pursuing anything at all, but it's just practicing connecting with people and building friendships with people that you don't know. So I'll, you know, just find something to connect to them. I'll ask them a bunch of questions like, oh, like, you know, are you on your lunch break? You know, if it's someone that I'm like at a lunch place working or something, and I'm like, oh, are you on your lunch break? You know, oh, where do you work? And then, oh, you must love that. I always ask like, what do you do? And then I say like, oh, you must love that. And usually that opens up a can of worms of either like, oh yeah, I love it. You know, I've been there for 5 years, or it's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like kind of nice. It pays the bills, whatever. You never really know what they're going to say, but it always opens up something. And then from there, you can either just like at the end of the conversation, be able to get some type of like contact to be able to contact them again, or just jump right into Arbonne if it feels right. Like there's totally been times where I've been talking to people, and there was one time where a girl, she's saying that she's in the military, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a girl that's in my business that is full-time active duty military, and she also is at the top of our company, making like an extra 6 figures with like a side business. And she was like, really, what is that? And I'm like, it's called Arbonne. Have you ever heard of it? And so like just listen to what they're saying, and if it feels right, like bring in Arbonne right then. And if it feels like you just want to like become friends, like do that too. Like I flew up to Vancouver last month to watch my girl promote to Nation. And when I was in the airport and I had just landed in Vancouver, I was getting my bags, and there was another mom, and we both had our baby boy strapped to our front. And so I was like, oh, and she had like 2 other kids with her too. So I was like, oh, super mom, like you're killing it, you know, whatever. And she was just like, oh, thank you. And then we were just chatting. I was like, do you live in Vancouver? She was like, yeah, I do. And I said I was from San Diego. She's like, oh, that's where we just were. It's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. We're just chatting. I was like, girl, like I'm going to be here for a week, and I don't know, you know, any of the cool spots. Like, what, do you have an Instagram? And she was like, oh yeah, totally. So then got her Instagram. I was like, okay, I'm going to be here for a little bit. I'm visiting my friend, but there might be some time where I'm just kind of like exploring on my own if she has work to do. So, you know, just send me over like all your favorite spots. And she was like, oh, I would love to. Like as soon as I sit down in my Uber, I'll send it over. And then like right away she messaged me. She's like, hey, like, you know, there's this spot and this spot. Like if you have time while you're here, we should grab coffee with the babies and chat more. And I'm like, yeah, like that would be amazing. And I'm like, sorry, Carly, I'm gonna be promoting you to Nation, and then I'm going to meet with this other girl because now you're out of my central and I need to build up my team. So we were just like joking about it that I was going to ditch her like during her Nation celebration to go meet new people. But that's honestly like, that's what I do. I meet new people every single place that I go. I get their Instagram. I stay connected. Once you have them on Instagram, you can then like start sharing what you do more, and they'll be able to like see what you do. But I usually always like before I ever leave an interaction, I usually always say what I do in some way, because you don't want it to be this like oh, she just met me because, you know, she wants to share this business with me. I always at some point say something about what I do. Like if someone asks me like, or if I ask them what they do and then they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I have a business with a health and wellness company. It's called Arbonne. Have you ever heard of it? That's what I always say. Because I don't want it. It's not this big secret. It's not this weird thing that like we should hide at all. It's just, I have a business with Arbonne and it's amazing. So, you know, we just need to find a need and then kind of fill that with Arbonne. But there's been so many. I have 2 girls on my team that are at the level of area and above that I met on social media. And then I have like a couple more that I met in person, but then got connected with them on social media. And then now they're on my team. I have a girl that's an area manager on my team that I met at the park. I have a girl on my team that she was the photographer at my friend's baby shower. And I just like, she was super cool. I got her Instagram and stayed connected. So many people that are like districts and, you know, just all over my team that I just met out and about cold market and, or through Instagram. So I love, that's like my jam. Honestly. I love it. It's just like making new friends.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny that you should say that. And Ashley Strom at GTC, when she was doing her training, no, it was AIT, she did a training, and she
Oh
said,
yeah.
if you do this business right, you'll never prospect a day in your life. Because if you're
Yeah.
making this about other people, if you're making this about just connecting, we're not out there prospecting. We're out there smiling and we're interacting with the ones that smile back. Oh my gosh, Hilly, thank you so much for being on this call. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to stop the recording so that we can talk about some other things within our central nation here. So hang on one second.